Hi guys, Kim here, design team member with Swirlydoos Kit Club. What I've got for you today is a step-by-step on the shadow box that we got in our project kit for our July kits. What I'm going to do is show you how I created the outside of mine. The inside I left blank. I'll do a second tutorial on that. What I did was I did some pre-prepping on it already. What I did was some random stamping on it, as you can see here. And I did some of the sides and the front, and I left one side blank. I used some Hickory Smoke Distress ink by Ranger, and I also used an old Prima stamp. I used it without a black because I'm going over edges, so I'm just going to show you how I did some random stamping. And you just stamp until you're happy with it. It doesn't matter if you miss spots or anything. It's just going to have that shabby chic look to it. And so now I'm done. I'm happy with the stamping on it. As you can see, it's got a distressed look to it, so I really like it. I'm also going to use this distress ink and a small ink tool to ink some die cuts that I cut. I die cut some swirl leaves to use on this, and they're in a little soft color, soft gray cardstock, and I want them to stand out, so I'm going to use my mini distress tool and the Hickory Smoke on the edges, and I just want to ink the edges of them just so once I put them on this white shadow box that they pop a little bit. And it doesn't matter if you don't get all the edges. Again, this is going to be shabby chic, so you don't want it perfect. And I also die cut some little tiny leaves to stick in, and I'm going to do the same thing with these. I'm just going to go around the edges and randomly ink them. And again, it's not going to be perfect. It doesn't matter if you get some on the inside. You just want these to be able to stand out. And so I'm just going to put them on there. I'm happy with the inking. And so now what I'm going to do is we're going to move on to decorating the box. We're going to do two corners and the center of it. We're going to do some lace down the grooves as well. But first we're going to work on the big cluster on the bottom left corner. I've got this doily die cut that I did in a soft pink. So my colors on this are going to be pink and gray. So I'm going to put the doily down first with some ink. That's my base. And I'm using this pink flower from my stash with some foam tape. The vine came in the kit, and I've cut off the end of it. And I bent this. I love these vines because you can bend them and manipulate them the way that you want them to. You want them to go. And so I'm bending that until I'm happy with it. Now I'm adding some of the gray flowers that came in the main kit. And again, I've used some thick foam tape because I want my flowers to sit up because I'll be tucking some stuff in. The pink flowers are from my stash. They worked out perfectly. Now there's that die cut, and I'm sticking that in under, and I'm gluing it down onto my frame. Some of it's going to hang off the edge, which is fine because I'll be putting it on a stand. And I'm adding that to both sides of my floral cluster there. And just making sure that everything's secure and tucked in the way that I want it. And now I've got these pearl beads and some little small roses that I'm going to add to it. The bead sprays, I love those. You can find those in the bridal section of, Michael's or Hobby Lobby. So I've added a couple of those just for some bling. Girls got to have her bling. And then just some little tiny roses that are pink as well, just to fill in some spaces. And so you just move all that stuff around until you're happy with the way that it looks. Now I'm decided against using my little gray flowers that I had initially. I'm going to use some greenery just because I want to add a little more color to it. So I'm going to use some little green flowers from green leaves from my stash. So I'm going to go ahead and tuck those in here and there. I'm just moving around till I like it. And so now my little bottom cluster is done. I like the way that it looks. And so I'm going to move on to do my top cluster. Now this one's going to be a little bit smaller than the bottom one. I'm starting again with some of the gray flowers from the main kit with some foam tape, and again the pink flowers are from my stash, just tucking them in. These gray flowers are great. They've got that like sugar coating on them, and there's that die cut right down the side. And again, I've got some stuff hanging off the side, but I'm going to glue that down, and I hold that a little bit just to make sure that everything stays and everything catches before I move on. And now for the top one, it's a little bigger than I want. Oh, sorry, I'm going to add my pearls and my flowers first before I move on to doing the top one. So I'm adding again those same pearl spray and those roses. Now for the top one, it's a little bigger, so I cut a piece of it off. And I've got that tucked in. Sorry about my big head getting in the way. So I've got that tucked in, and I'm not going to completely glue that down yet. I'm just going to stick it in, and you'll see why in a minute. But again, I'm adding some more little flowers and some more of the pearl sprays. And then I'm going to go ahead back in and add some more of those green leaves. Kind of like whatever you do to the bottom of your cluster, you want to do to the top of your cluster to balance. And now I'm adding a resin piece to the center. It's just some flower resins to the center. The next thing I'm doing is I'm adding some pearl lace to the grooves. Now, the reason I'm doing this last is, and here's a little tip, I didn't have enough to go all the way around my frame before I started adding everything in. So I did my clusters, and now I'm adding my pearl lace in to the open spaces. That's a little tip. If you don't have enough, if you can wait till the end, and then this way you can cut the pieces and you should be able to get it to fit. Just my little tidbit. That's kind of how I do it. It may be a little bit of a pain like it is here down at the bottom, especially with my little die cut swirls, but I kind of make it work, and it turns out fine. It fits in